I was just thinking about like coming up with a regular schedule of when we would podcast, but then I thought no man knows the day or the hour. So it's one of those types of things, like the second coming could happen before our next show. So thanks for coming back.
Like your second coming, because
oh my goodness, the first one wasn't that spectacular. So guys, welcome back to Tex Cathedra, and welcome back our great and one of our dearest friends, Angela Erickson from Integrated with Angela Erickson, has agreed to come on tonight, and we're also on your channel right now. Is that correct, Angela?
Yes, you should be. It's funny, you kind of hit go right before I had like fully gotten it ready for my channel, but that's okay. So I think we're live on my channel.
I apologize, guys.
No, we're ready to go.
It shows up here on the right that it looks like you're live.
Perfect.
I think that A is yours.
When you say it, like you just can't hear me very well.
Well, it almost sounds like maybe you're on your computer mic and not connected to your podcast mic. So I would double check your settings.
I bet you that's probably exactly what's happening. Hang on.
While you're saying that, I was thinking about this today, and then I watched the intro again. I mean, we need to update the intro. I think we talked about it, but
I love your intro.
No. I mean,
does that sound better, guys?
Yes,
better.
Immensely
Okay, there we go.
better.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for the heads up.
Better.
Thank you, Grover.
I think there's a couple. I think there's a couple parts that we just cut out, but I actually really like the music on our original.
I love the music.
On the original. On the original, I like this one. It was like a jazzed up Gregorian chant.
Okay, right. That's right. I do remember that. Yeah, that was Trad, man, with the OG podcast, the precursor to the Old Testament to this podcast. Guys, it's been an interesting week. First of all, Jesus Christ is risen. Alleluia, as he said he would. Alleluia. Happy Easter to each and every one of you. And it's kind of a weird Easter because on Monday, His Holiness Pope Francis died. I haven't heard from either of you guys, and I've been dying for a hot take. Ange, take it away. I want to hear your thoughts on anything that you would like to discuss on that topic.
Do you?
Yeah. How's that for open-ended?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Welcome to our show.
Welcome. It's great to be back. And you might just get one or two hot takes out of me because I have had a single old-fashioned already tonight, and that's like enough for me. Honestly though, my hottest take is probably just that I'm tired of the hot takes. Is that too hot?
That's fair enough.
I am so tired. I get like this instinct that people have to want to talk. It's a current event. I get it. But there's a part of me that's like, he hasn't even been buried yet. I don't know. Like, I feel like we should, the Jews always had a period of grieving for a loved one, and that they dressed in the particular garb, and they were grieving. Like there was a time set apart. Even, it was just the things that I like about other cultures is that a lot of them aren't pushing to move on right away. Like if a woman gives birth, for example, there are 40 days of healing. It was expected, for example, that women would stay home with their newborn babies. They weren't even expected to be at the baptism of their child. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
So women, yes, like every time my priest has always been like, it wasn't even expected that the mom would be there for the baptism. It's just the godparents that are essential in that ritual, in that sacrament. The women were expected to be home healing, and so what's considered those 40 days after birth, or even the fourth trimester for some, if you're talking about 3 months postpartum, but a real period of healing was honored. And I think the same thing for grief. Like there's time set apart for grieving. In ancient cultures, you were expected to grieve. And that's just sort of, I feel like I did not like a lot of things about Pope Francis. I'm not going to pretend like I loved his pontificate. In fact, the biggest crisis of faith I've ever had has been under his pontificate.
Same.
And,
Same.
But I do feel like we have a duty as children to grieve our father. our spiritual shepherd of the Supreme Pontiff. And so, and we grieve a lot of the time, not just the things we didn't like about their pontificate, but perhaps the ways that we wish we would have been loved more by our fathers, right? Especially if we have a bad relationship with our fathers. And so that's my biggest hot take, I guess, is I wish we would grieve and just pause before we move into the next news cycle and try to guess at what's happening next.
I like that. I would just say this, and this is basically just to piggyback off of what you were saying, because I think there's a lot of people who are saying things like, this is not a time for, bitching and moaning about all the things you didn't like, and what we need to do right now.
There will be a time for that.
I would say this. I think I believe in listening to feelings. I'm a big believer in that. I have them, and I don't apologize for them. And I just want to say that it's okay to have a lot of complicated feelings about Francis.
For real.
That's okay. And anybody who tells you that that's not okay, like, ignore those people. And we Traditionis Custodes was an act of abuse. It was an act of spiritual abuse. It was cruel. It was petty. And someday, at some point, somebody's going to have to apologize for it. Now, I'm not expecting, and I know it's not going to happen, because I don't think that there are very many people left in Rome who have that level of introspection anymore. But, he hated us. He hated us, and no matter how much we tried to win his love, it just wasn't possible. And I don't expect the modernists to understand how we feel. He didn't treat them the way he treated us, so I don't expect them to have the same feelings. Do I commend his soul to the mercy of Almighty God? You better believe it, because I hope somebody commends mine. That being said, he hated me, so I can't hate him back. That seems unreasonable. I have to like the guy too.
Well, no, you don't have to like him. I don't think. See, and that's a distinction that I think is super important in the conversation. It's like, Mark, I know you and I both have some. For anyone who's maybe not familiar with me or Mark at this point, or any of us, because none of us get to podcast as often as we'd like to. We've all been really good friends for years now, going back to pretty much the beginning of all of our podcasting, which is, I mean, it's like so much fun to come on here, because we've been doing this all together, like basically for the same time frame. Yeah. And so we've gotten to know each other really well. And there are certain relationships in our lives that I feel like we have, you and I, Mark, especially, but you too, Jason. I mean, because you come from a really unique background as well.
I never said I was a very good Christian, Grover, and I'll admit I say things on here all the time that I maybe are an overstep. I'm an off the cuff kind of person. So
yes, but I think we all understand, like, the humanness of our relationships, right? Like, we know from experience in our own personal lives, and this translates into the spiritual life as well, so well, that often you can be seeking love from somebody and it's not reciprocated. And yet you still like have an openness to this person, this great deep down desire for there to be unity. And I think that's been the plight of many Catholics. And some of that has been exacerbated by media trying to drive division. I think we have to acknowledge that. And then other components like Traditionis Custodes, obviously, was a deliberate attack on anyone who values the Latin Mass and true traditionalism. And that hurts, right? And so, yes, we do seek some sort of reconciliation. There, like, deep down, even if you say you hate him, Mark, I
don't hate him.
You don't. But that's the thing, you don't, because if you would be indifferent if you did.
Yeah,
you would be totally ambivalent. The thing is that it hurts because you do love him and you love the seat of Peter, and that's the problem. Not the problem, so to speak, but that's the crux of the issue.
That's the source
You love it so much because you know how important it is. It is a central component of the Catholic faith, and you feel rejected. It's like an abandonment wound.
Yeah, and I remember in 2021, especially with everything that had gone down with COVID and the way it went down, it was just like in a span of a year, everything you had in your life just went away. And any choices or any individual decisions you made about life or any control you had over your life, piece by piece went away. And I guess the brain trust at the Vatican thought that this would be a good time to take people's mass away forever based on nothing other than the fact that you like it. That's cruel to me. I think that the level of cruelty I had not even expected, but it does speak to an overall pattern of abuse that has become normalized and just a way of doing business in Vatican City. And I just wish, I don't know how that ever ends. I would think it would have ended after the scandals that broke in the early part of the 2000s, but clearly not. It's going to be an interesting conclave. We'll see. We'll say that it's going to be an interesting one because I don't think I'm alone in the way I feel.
Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, sorry. I know I dropped off there. This internet here has been pretty bad like this past week, so I just hopped on hopefully my phone's hotspot will work. I have a lot of mixed emotions, actually. I don't have the and if I'm using the wrong term here for Mark and others, I apologize, but I don't have as much resentment towards Pope Francis as
resentment's a good word. That's probably the better word. As
Mark and many of y'all do. I'm also not like a big lover of Pope Francis either.
I feel like you, Jason. I feel the same
on many ways. Now, I do love him in the sense that, he was the Pope. He was our Holy Father, our spiritual leader in the Catholic Church. Does that mean that I agreed with everything that he did? Of course not. I think we've talked about that before. And like even now during this time, I try to measure my response and my feelings just out of respect for who he was, what the office was. And I know all that's cliche, but in today's environment, that's a lot harder to do than not, right? I do feel a sense of sadness when I found out he died. Like I actually had a great sense of sadness for him. Of course, pray for his soul daily. And something kind of ironic. Now, I haven't made it through these two books yet. I'm kind of reading them a little bit at a time simultaneously. But to me, it was kind of ironic that I was reading Pope Francis's Hope, right? I'm not finished with it yet. I was reading his autobiography. At the same time, I'm reading Hope to Die by Scott Hahn, if you can see that.
Yeah.
So I picked those up, and I was just like for me personally, I know it doesn't matter to the bigger picture, but to me, I was just kind of like, man, that's kind of crazy. I'm reading this book about the Christian meaning of death and the resurrection of the body, and then while I'm simultaneously reading Hope by Pope Francis, and
his autobiography of all things. Well, his autobiography just ended, so
I will say that the first parts of his autobiography.
It's not funny. Mark is laughing. I shouldn't have said that.
That was good.
His autobiography, though, really does, and all y'all may have known this about him before, but I didn't. It really kind of explains a lot of his reasoning and the way he thinks and why he thinks the way that he did, and some of the decisions he made.
Do you feel like that? Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like over the years there has been so much analysis over his reasoning and his background and things like that. I'm thinking about some of the podcasts I used to listen to way back in the day that were, individuals who wrote books on this stuff. It's like trying to understand where he's coming from. Did you think that maybe some of the analysis that has been done on Pope Francis, and when you compare it to reading his book, about his own autobiography, do you think that they matched up, or like, I don't know, were they mutually exclusive, or do you think it had the potential to be a both and? I'm curious.
Okay, so I don't know that I really have an answer for that.
A vague question, but
I'm
trying to say things without talking about certain individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I can fairly answer that, or even if I have an answer, because I'm only like a quarter of the way through the book anyway, because like I said, it's just a slow, casual reading. I definitely can, from what I've seen so far, and I don't necessarily know about the analysis of his decisions, but I can see why he formed the line of reasoning that he had many times for immigration, for refugees, for even environmental issues so far that I've made it through the book. You're like, okay, so this is why he feels the way that he does, right or wrong. That was his formation as a kid, the things that he experienced growing up. So yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of been so far, it's been just eye-opening into the person of who he was, more on a
Human,
human level. Yeah,
Yeah.
personal human level. Yeah. So that's how I feel. And I do want to go back, because I don't know if Mark brought it, maybe you brought it up when I dropped off. I know Traditionis Custodes. I know I didn't like it, and like I said, I know some people had a lot more anger towards it than I did. But I always thought Mark brought up a really good point at the time, if he hadn't already brought it up. That came out, if I remember correctly, we were coming just out of COVID years, during the lockdowns and all that, when people were forbidden from going to mass because all the churches were closed. Everybody was just really feeling down spiritually, was really struggling spiritually.
Brutal.
And instead, Mark made the point years ago on our podcast, instead of them doing something to bring people up, they decide to suppress and drag people down even more. And I think that's when Mark said that, I think that is my biggest beef, maybe. I mean, I have other beefs with it, but my biggest beef with the Traditionis Custodes is that the timing of it could not have been worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I my wife and I are actually both getting over a cold, unfortunately.
Is that what all that is?
That's what's happening here. That's why I sound like Doc Holliday after a 3-day bender. But excuse me. Last time we were at traditional Latin Mass was at Annunciation downtown, and I mean, we're literally in the pew. I mean, tears are streaming out of our face. It's a Lent. It's like the second Sunday of Lent.
This year?
Nothing. Yeah. It's not like a really particularly beautiful liturgy. I mean, it's just the normal Sunday liturgy, and I just thought, wow, anybody who could look at this as a problem for them to solve, I really have to wonder what's inside you. I mean, I really have to wonder. I like when we all saw Mass of the Ages episode 1, and we saw that story of that woman who, in the midst of an unspeakable tragedy, found some solace and some hope, dare I say, a little bit of joy. Not in cocaine, not in binge watching reality TV shows. No, in all places, the Roman Rite of the Catholic Mass. And the Vatican saw that as a problem for them to solve. And at that point, I really had to wonder, so I'm just in this weird place now where God's plan is now so confusing. I don't know that I know how to help him with it or how to participate in it, because it seems like the biggest enemy of the Catholic Church is the Catholic Church. And so we have to destroy the Catholic Church so that we can save the Catholic Church from the Catholic Church. I have no idea what's happening. I've lost the plot now. I'm going to go. I feel like, I wonder if the Mary Magdalene and Our Lady felt like this, the foot of the cross, just bewilderment. I don't know what to even make. And then wasn't it prophesied that in the end times you would see the abomination of desolation, which is iniquity laid bare? We will see evil it will confound us.
It's interesting. I'm not trying to plug my podcast, but
plug the podcast.
I just interviewed Father Donald Haggerty from St. Patrick's Cathedral. He just wrote a book about basically not about the end times necessarily, but just like what to expect and how to approach it spiritually. I will say, I'm looking up the exact title because I normally don't do interviews unless I have read the full book. So I did ask around and ask people that I trust, like, do you know him well? Because they reached out to me for me to interview him. And I really think that he was so spot on in his analysis. I want to pull up the title here. We just talked about it. I need to publish it either tomorrow or Friday. I just have to do some editing because it was not a live interview, and I hate putting stuff out there that if it's live, I can just let it go. Just like
Yeah.
all of the ugly things in there that I don't care for. But if I pre-record it, then I am going to go through every second of it and make sure I'm okay with it. But anyway, we just talked about this, and we actually talked about we even talked about all of the masses being taken away. And I recall receiving Holy Communion in our entryway. Like, we had friends that were acting as extraordinary ministers in the truest sense and delivering the Holy Eucharist to friends, like all of our friends, on behalf of our priest. And being aware of the times without being like hysterical, and how important that is. Because if we're Catholic and we understand God's divine providence, he has a plan. Like, we say we trust in that plan. And as hard as it was, I still remember kneeling in my entryway, weeping while I received Holy Communion on Easter Sunday in like 2021.
Yeah.
And being absolutely appalled that like this was the state of the church right now, and completely heartbroken. And yet here we are, we're looking into a new era of the church, possibly, and that could be worse or better. We have no idea.
It's true.
What to expect. It could go either way. In some ways, I see a lot of hope in the church. It seems like there's a lot of conversion, and it's like it's like kind of cool again to be Catholic, which is weird.
That's it. Yeah, that's an interesting one. You saw the story in the Archdiocese of LA. They had more converts this year than
I didn't see that,
or something like that.
But I grew up in a really Protestant area, and being Catholic was like an ugly word. So I, like, the first week of school when I moved there, I got spit in my face on the bus because I was Catholic. Like, hardcore Protestantism, very anti-Catholic. And like now all of a sudden all these major figures are becoming Catholic. So anyway, I'm just saying there's a huge shift going on. In some ways I see a lot of promise, but also there are some legitimate things going on, like transhumanism and all of these weird ideological things that are getting pushed right now, that it's hard to discern where exactly we are. Which signs are we supposed to be paying attention to? And at the end of the day, do we look at someone like St. Alphonsus Liguori and say, okay, his writings, for example, on uniformity with God's will, how do we integrate that into our daily life and into our prayer life, into our soul, into our very being, so that we're not disturbed at what we see going on in the church right now? How do we make peace with that right now? Because like that has to be, so like right now, I am actually at the most peace I've been in, I don't even know how long. And I struggle with a great deal of anxiety, but I have so much peace right now. And I just don't care about what's going on with the conclave, to be quite honest. Like, I'm going to be totally brutally honest. I don't care, because I just think, like, I know I've seen it in my own life that God uses everything for the good of those who love him. And so I'm like, yeah, this might be brutal, but like, whenever I've experienced suffering and I've just leaned in and been like, yep, this is going to hurt. It doesn't hurt as bad, but it hurts like way more when you're resisting it, you know? Like, it actually hurts way more when you're fighting it.
Yeah.
And so if you just like lean into it and you're like, yep, this is going to hurt. Somehow you just get the grace you need.
You have to take up the cross, right?
You do. Like, yes, literally.
You have to take up the cross.
Kissing your cross every single day.
I was thinking recently, well, I guess because we just came out of Passion Week, but like the cross is a horrifying symbol when you really think about it. And it's at the front of every church. It's on the top of every church. Every bishop wears one around his neck. Many of us wear them around our neck. They adorn our homes. And I think for in the 2000 years, it's become the symbol of Western Christianity and of course, Eastern Christianity too. But I think a lot of people don't really stop and reflect on what it is Christ is demanding of us. And it's pretty severe. It's pretty extreme. It's a horrifying thing to make your symbol. It's a horrifying ignominious death.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's just an interesting
reflection.
Well,
in the cross, crucifixion was, but back then it was something that was not, people wouldn't even really look upon the when people were crucified, they wouldn't look upon the crosses. The cross was not a symbol that was like people enjoyed. And that's why, even in the beginning of Christianity, the sign of the cross, really, really stood out to the pagans and to the world, because I can think of the word I'm looking for, but it was really looked down upon because that was not something you ever wanted to praise. It was not something you ever, whatever. But I mean, it became a symbol of power. And yeah, you're right. Now the cross is just thrown around, even to the point where it just becomes like everybody wears a cross. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a fashion statement.
I mean, a fashion statement. Yeah, I mean,
it is.
You've got
It's
holy
trendy.
religious people wearing it, and then you've got this OnlyFans girl wearing it over here, and it's
Right.
like it doesn't mean what it should mean to most people in the world.
But I think a lot of that has to do with Protestantism watering down what the cross is. Like
by taking Jesus off of it.
Next
Yeah.
hot take. You take the corpus off of our crosses, and it means nothing. It means almost nothing.
Yeah.
I get that Jesus is no longer on the cross, but when I look at a crucifix and I see how much he loves me, that cross means something. There were many people that died on a cross. There were many people that were crucified. Our Lord was wholly innocent. He is God, and he died a very brutal death for me. That is how much he loves me. When you take that corpus off, it loses all meaning. It could be anybody on that cross. And certainly nobody else died for me.
And I'm pretty sure I might be getting this wrong. I think this is Jose Maria Escriva, but I might be a different, more modern churchman. But they said the cross without Christ is communism. Christ without the cross is hedonism. You can't have one without the other. So did you, I don't know, did you catch that, Angela?
I did. I was just, my kids were like coming, streaming.
I thought we lost
here. No. I'm here. Yeah. I mean, I think there is Jose Escriva talking about how the cross without Christ is hedonism. Did I catch that?
Fulton Sheen. Okay. Yeah. That might be that. Fully. That's fine. The cross without Christ is communism. But Christ without the cross is hedonism. Speaking of one without the other.
Speaking of Easter, did either of y'all go to Easter Vigil?
I would not dare with all 6 of my little kids right now.
No, I was
personally.
Down, I was down for the count this whole weekend. I was running a fever and I couldn't get out of bed. We did. Yeah, no, we had to do we watched the mass, the Institute of Christ the King Sovereign Priest on the television, and then quarantined ourselves. So that we could make it through that. But
once I did for Grover, didn't go to the vigil. I once did. I had within the last few years, when my daughter, my third, was a newborn. She was born December 15th, and I went to the Easter vigil. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Christmas Eve mass. I might have been Christmas Eve, but I remember going with a young baby, and they cried the whole time. And then after mass, this old lady glared at me and shook her head like she was totally disgusted with me. And I was by myself with all of my kids at the time. If Paige was a newborn, Avery, my oldest, was maybe 3 or 4. So it was 3 or 4-year-old, a 18-month-old to 2 years old, and then a newborn. And this lady was super nasty to me. And I remember that was the worst I have ever felt coming out of mass. So actually that old lady is the reason I don't go to vigil anymore.
Oh,
it killed me.
It's crazy that y'all have those experiences with people, because I have never experienced it. I mean, even the times when we go to Novus Ordo, just I can't tell you how many times older women have come up to my daughters over their head coverings and done nothing but praise them, even though they don't wear them themselves. And Easter, ever since we've been Catholic in 2018, we go to every Easter vigil. It's just kind of something that I always wanted to make sure we try to do every year. Now, not all of our kids always make it through. Usually the younger ones, like this year, one. So I have a 3 and a 4-year-old. The 4-year-old fell asleep. The 3-year-old made it. But I mean, I go in and we were 4 rows up. We usually try to sit closer to the front anyway, especially with the kids. And I mean, personally, I don't, if people have a problem with my 6 kids up there, you know what? I'm like, whatever. If they want to say something, they can say something, but it ain't gonna go too well because
I felt that way because like Lars was not there; he was working, and so it was just. And I was already like super postpartum, so I was like very vulnerable. And what I needed was someone to help me instead of like judging me.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too, right? Just as a disclaimer, I mean, obviously, if the kids start getting too, which they normally don't, they rarely do. If they get, we'll take them out, and you know, even my older ones, I've had to take them out. I've had to reprimand them, spank them, or whatever the case may be, bring them back. But what I was just going to say real quick, but you're also in a lot different boat than I am, being a female versus a male. I think people have a lot more bravado speaking to a female about it than they would a man. Like if your husband, if your husband's there, do you experience that nearly as much? Is my question.
No, because if a man is with like his children, it's endearing, it's beautiful. Like, wow, what a great dad! Oh my gosh, he's amazing. And then if I go somewhere with my kids, like Costco of all places, people look at me like, why are you here? Actually, one of the last times I was at Costco, some guy in a freaking face mask yelled really loud, like, "Oh my, the Lord's name in vain." And I turned around and I looked at him. I stared him down. I was waiting for him to look and make eye contact with me. And his friend kind of like side-eyed. I could see him. He's also wearing a face mask. Side-eyed, like, oh gosh. And I was waiting for a confrontation because if I go places, I almost always get comments about me and my kids. And my husband, he just gets praises. That's it. Nobody would ever look at my husband. Maybe it's because he's like mega masculine. He's got the big beard. He's in shape. He's a lineman. I don't know if people would be like afraid to fight with him or something, but no one ever says stuff like that to my husband. But to me, they will say plenty of things. So I don't know. I think it is very different being a woman because like for men, I think they're cheering them on, and then for women, they're like, "What's wrong with you? Why would you want to destroy your body?" And like all that kind of stupidity.
Wow.
This is Taffy says, let's be honest. The reason why no one comments is Jason's kids are better behaved than him.
That's probably true.
Mark's seen me in mass before.
Yeah.
Man.
He can't confirm.
There was something else I was going to say too that you made me think of, and now I can't remember. I'm going to think about it for a minute because when you saw me put up my finger, like, hold on a minute.
This year.
Oh, maybe it was Darren's comment about temper. Oh, okay. This is what I was going to say. He's reminding me with Darren's comments about the temper tantrum of small children are absolutely hilarious to watch. Okay, can we just be honest? Like a really bad cantor at mass is way more distracting than a small child.
Oh, wow.
Can we be honest? Somebody gave somebody a microphone that can't sing and they think that that's acceptable. But like a small child being a child is problematic. Give me a break. Sorry. We had a terrible cantor.
I think it's funny that there's like everybody's got a mass pet peeve. Mine is a rambling homily that just goes on and on and on. Like I could care less about the can, but like everybody's got a mass pet peeve. I think that just
is one of
you know what my biggest pet peeve is at masses or right after mass is when I go to the same masses, Mark, and then literally I can't make even if I make it out the door in 2 minutes, Mark is gone.
Dude, my wife does the Judas shuffle. I've talked to her about this. You know, where she receives our Lord and then goes out into the night. No,
I didn't.
Here's
know
the deal.
But
here's the deal. My wife likes to sit in a warm car. Okay, when the car is cold, it doesn't get cold here very often.
She's not even in Minnesota. Don't even talk to me. I live in Minnesota. Don't talk to me about a cold vehicle.
Well, oh no, trust me. We lived in Iowa. Like it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So she's like, okay, after the final blessing, I'm going to go start the car. Okay. I mean, she doesn't wait till the final blessing. So, I mean, she doesn't just receive the Lord and go out.
I'm like, good.
I call that church mass when it's bleeding out. That's actually what I refer to it as. It's bleeding out after Holy Communion. We have a church that does that.
I sat here and I see Mark or sit there and I'll see Mark and I'll be like, good. I get to hang out with my friend after. He gone.
He's gone.
He's gone. He gone. And I'm like, now I'm just stuck with my wife and kids.
Oh.
Sorry, I did that to you.
No, but you know what's funny though is this year. So we were gonna go. I don't know why I'm laughing at this. I guess it's just a Sam Wright joke is making me laugh. But I had arrived at the Ordinary right at 2 hours early. Every seat was taken for the Easter Vigil, and I was like, okay. So my wife's like, well, we can go to Regina Caeli. I said, I guarantee you, there's not a seat available there right now. So we ended up going to the Novus Ordo right down the one that it's down the street from us, but it's the one that we came into. We hadn't been there in a while. But no, never. I would never sleep on the couch. Just FYI. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I guess my point is that like, I know everybody talks, and I'm not going to deny the statistics and the numbers and stuff like that. I mean, but I know anecdotally, and I think Mark can affirm this. Here in Houston, man, like you go to the churches, there, even the Novus Ordo down the street from me, it is packed all the time. The time.
I think I've seen an uptick here too in Minnesota for
and
sure.
They have like 120 people in their OCIA program right now. There was like, I mean, it's just here in Houston, it seems like the church is growing at least some. Now, I don't know what the overall numbers would look like for the archdiocese, but in my little corners of Houston, it does seem like it's growing pretty well. And I think Easter was a pretty good reflection of that.
Can I ask you guys, this is a huge pivot, but like, how was Lent for you guys this year?
Oh, it was not. I did not. I struggled with Lent this year.
I did too, honest. But I think that's a good Lent. I think it's about the struggle. I don't think it's about winning every battle. I think it's just about fighting.
Yeah, you told me that we were playing golf. Yeah.
Well, like I think so. There's a tendency to get pharisaical about it, where you can look and go, okay, did I complete all 613 things I was supposed to do? Did I do them all correctly? Oh, I missed 612. Oh man, I'm such a bad person. Like that's pharisaical. It's not about the completion of 613 things, and it's not so much about, well, I completed my Lenten observance with 100%, observation or whatever. I think it's about the fight.
Would either of you be willing to like talk a little bit about maybe what was your focus this Lent? Like what was, I mean, you don't have to get into the exact penances that you guys were focusing on or increase in prayer, whatever, but like, what was it for you that you think the overarching theme was, or maybe you went into it with one idea and then it ended up being something completely different?
Jason, you go first. I want to piggyback off you.
Oh, I was gonna let you go first.
You invited me on, but now I'm interviewing you.
I know, right? The tables have turned.
We are
how the turntables.
What is this? What does this mean? What is Nicholas talking about here? Pharisees, Jason. I don't know. Is he calling me a Pharisee?
I'm not sure.
I think I'm
Lady of South Texas. I think we all feel like we fail Lent. I don't think I've ever had a Lent where I was like, yeah, crushed that.
Yeah, like that's like I think that's kind of the whole point. Like you're not.
I think my first Lent, I was like crushed it.
No way.
Because I did no meat all that Lent. I wasn't eating any type of meat, right? And it actually
I did that in high school.
I'm gonna be honest. It was not as hard as I thought it was gonna be. But then afterwards, my wife was like, "Yeah, of course it wasn't hard for you. You didn't cook your meals. I had to do all that." I was like, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I guess it was more of a Lent for you than it was me. Or Lent sacrifice.
Yeah.
But my younger daughter, she does kind of like one year, like, so when she was younger, she loved cereal. So she gave up cereal. And then the next year she was like, you know what? I'm going to sleep on the floor. I'm not going to sleep in my bed. And every single day of Lent, she slept on the floor. And it was kind of funny because afterwards she was like, I think we were asking her, well, which one would you do again? She goes, oh, I would do sleeping on the floor. We're like, why? She goes, no, cereal was way too hard.
No way.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
I'm like,
so crazy. I don't even know. It's so funny because I remember in high school giving up meat for Lent. And I don't know why. Like, no one else in my house was doing anything even remotely that drastic. I remember also giving up TV, but that was not hard for me. I've never cared a whole lot for TV, I don't think, or screens in general, but meat was hard. And and yet that I remember as a high school student being like, this is actually not that bad. And now at 30 some years old, I'm like, that would be really hard for me. Actually be a lot harder now.
I tried to stay off of social media and like reduce my screen time, especially on my phone, because my phone, like scrolling on Insta on the phone and all that stuff had become like a real time suck, and just one of those things where I felt like it was it becoming disproportionate and inordinate and not in its proper place.
Sure.
So I felt like that was a good place to start. And really also observing an actual fast on Ash Wednesday, on Good Friday, and trying to intermittently, not intermittent fasting, but intermittently do some fasting throughout the week, because my drug of choice is food. I think you look at me and you can figure that out pretty quick. Although we did drop, both Kayla and I.
You guys have been doing great.
We are down. She's down 46 pounds and I'm officially down 50.
No way. That's awesome. Everybody in the chat, round of applause for Mark.
Well, it's been
Kayla.
And it's been a lot of we've incorporated it into our spiritual life. And I know the purpose of spiritual life is not to lose weight. That's obviously not the point. I mean, that can happen and that's fine, but the objective has got to be something more celestial based, I guess. It's got to be rooted in heaven and the pursuit of that. I think that's probably more important.
So like this Lent, I was probably, I think just because my headspace, I struggled with the headspace, but I also gave up like snacking. Like I will only eat meals and not, because if you're around me a lot, I like to snack a lot. Like I eat between meals, I eat, and that was definitely hard. But I tell you what, for the first time in my life, I've never fasted this long, but I did that 40-hour fast. Now, for me, it was actually 38 because I kind of decided last minute to do it. And I know they were supposed to start at 8. So we got home from, Thursday's mass. And then I think I got home at like 10 o'clock and I ate. And then I decided to say, you know what? I think I'm going to try to go till noon on Saturday. But I did that. So I went all day. I did the 40-hour fast, or 38, I guess, for me. And I tell you what, I didn't realize how weak my flesh was to that, because that first day, I mean, Friday was pretty tough. I was like, that whole day, I was like, I am hungry. And like how much I want to think about it, because I'm used to just, if I'm just sitting here like watching TV or at work, I'll just pick up something to eat. And there was times like during Lent, because I gave up all that, I would just go in there and just, without even thinking, just out of habit, I would start to get something to snack on, or I would get a few bites, and my daughters, they'd be like, Dad, you're not supposed to be doing that. And I said, oh yeah, I didn't realize I was doing it. So it was definitely probably the hardest. And I thought it was going to be the easiest one to give up, but
yeah, that's so interesting. I had kind of like a rough idea of how I wanted to go into Lent. And then that first Wednesday or Thursday, maybe it was even Thursday, right after Ash Wednesday, I all of a sudden picked up my little office of the Blessed Virgin Mary that I bought over a decade ago. And I was like, I'm just going to start praying this every day for at least, I didn't realize there's an indulgence attached to praying matins and Compline every day. And usually if you pray matins, you also pray lauds as well right away. So anyway, I just started picking this up, and I have been afraid for over a decade of praying the little office because I thought I would do it wrong. Honestly, it was like that's the reason.
I actually get that. No, I actually do. Yeah.
I thought I would do it wrong. And so I had this thing forever, and I just was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I think it was just the Holy Spirit, because it wasn't something at all that I planned. I don't even know why. And that's how you kind of know it was the Holy Spirit. I don't know why it came into my mind. I was going to pick this little blue book up and start going through it. And I actually started off, I was praying lauds every morning. And then I realized, I'm actually supposed to be praying matins first. And so, but it was good because I was like, at least I was already carving out the time. And I think if I would have looked at both of them at the same time right away, I would have been very overwhelmed. Like, that's a lot of time to commit, praying both of those and singing the chants and stuff. It's like 20 minutes or so just for that every morning. And you know what? It just like transformed my life. And then we all got sick. And every 2 weeks, all winter into spring, we've been sick at my house with something different. And so I fell off the wagon, even though I was seeing tremendous growth in my spiritual life, and just really not even because it's like super meditative for me, but really it was just the self-discipline. And that was really what I needed to work on, was being more disciplined and temperate in my prayer life, and in other areas like disciplining my children and not losing it every time something was going wrong or like in a way that I didn't like. And anyway, so I feel like Lent was what I made a lot of progress in that way. And then I also failed a lot because we kept getting sick, and I just had a hard time getting back into it. But so that's kind of why I wanted to ask, like, if there was anything you guys went into it with, because I do think, for me anyway, I have continued to pray the little office as much as I can.
What do you think of that? How is that introduction of the divine of the church's liturgy in that particular sense impacted your life in the time that you've been doing? Because I love the office prayers.
Yes, I've always loved the liturgy of the office, or the liturgy of the hours, excuse me. But I think because I've rarely prayed it. Like, the last time I think I prayed the liturgy of the hours was when I was on like a retreat. A couple of years ago, 1 year ago, or I don't know how to describe this, almost a year and a half ago, went to Michigan and hung out with Tim Flanders and the Meaning of Catholic crowd, like a bunch of us. That was the last time I prayed Liturgy of the Hours, and I've always loved it. Like, I think, honestly, I could have been in a convent. Like, I actually love silence. I love structured prayer. It's something I thrive on, but it's really hard when you are a mother to a bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it just is objectively. But Alice, my youngest, I know Margot is asking where Alice is. Alice is probably with Lars right now, or if she's not sleeping already. Alice has been the easiest baby I have ever had out of 6 kids. And so I'm actually able to get up early, which I can't even believe I'm saying that. I can get up early. She's 6 months old, and I can get up and pray before the other kids get up, because she actually sleeps at night, which is amazing for them. I mean, we still get up and nurse and stuff, but like, it's not like anything my other kids have been. I've been taking care of babies now for almost a decade straight and not slept a full night of sleep. So I can get up and nurse and like pray and nurse and do whatever, and it's super easy. And so I think this has just been a grace from God that has allowed me to get into the type of prayer life that I have wanted. And for me, it's the structure component. Like, it's the choleric in me. I think I like the structure, and I like knowing, even if it's not an emotional thing, it's this intellectual, like, I know I'm making time for God every single day. And so even if I don't always feel like it's this great contemplative thing, I'm going through the motions. And sometimes in the past, I'd be like, well, it's not real prayer then. You know what I mean? Like, I would talk myself out of it, and it's totally the enemy discouraging me from carving that time out. And I think I've realized where the enemy is attacking me, and just being able to say, nope, I'm not going to give him a foothold anymore in this area. I'm going to keep doing this thing, even if I don't feel like God is in this moment. I'm going to go through the motions because I know it's right and just, and he is owed this part of my life. And so I'm going to keep going and doing this regardless of how it makes me feel. Yeah. And just being able to do that and saying no to myself that way has been so good for even my motherhood, because I homeschool most of my kids. We have 1 kid in school right now, but like, I'm at home all day with 5 kids. it's really easy to blow up about stuff with the kids. And so being able to be disciplined in this one area has translated into being more disciplined in these other areas and being more patient, or I should be more patient. So anyway, that's where it's been transformative for me. And that was like something I was totally not expecting during this Lent. And I think that's why the Holy Spirit pushed me, and my guardian angel pushed me to just pick up the little office, because it was like, this is what you need. This is what you've been craving. You know, you need discipline in your life. This is how you're going to get it.
The little office was the first office that I actually prayed for a while after I became Catholic. Somebody suggested it. I haven't prayed it in a while, but yeah, I enjoyed it when I had it.
It's a very ancient
or when I did
it's
it.
a very
rather.
ancient form of the office.
I mean, you're supposed to, if you got one of these on, these little my bling, you should be praying the little office every day. You know what I mean? Like that's, and I think a lot of people sort of get dispensations to pray the rosary in its place. And
I thought it was you either had to do one or the other. You're
wrong. Actually supposed to pray the little office, and you're supposed to get a special dispensation to pray the rosary in its place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, most people don't know that. It's very lax now, but that's not how it was originally. You were supposed to pray the little office.
I know Father at Regina Caeli, after he did what's the word I'm looking for, where he gives people with scapulars, where he
invested, sure.
Invest, yeah. After he did that, I know he said pray the little office, but you can do the rosary in his place at the time. So and that's what most people do, I'm sure.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it required all canonical hours or just?
No, I think matins and compline are what's expected. It depends. I'm sure it depends on your state in life, but I think matins and compline, and then, but it is sort of customary to pray matins and lauds together. What you want to pray the divine praises every single day. You know what I mean? Like, and that's been good for me too. Like if
there's any lay Carmelites in the chat, shout it out.
Yes. Yes.
Or religious Carmelites. I doubt it, but
but yeah, I mean, I could totally be wrong, but that's my understanding of it. And so yeah, I think it's been really good for me personally. I'm like gonna be just a diehard promoter of the little office from now moving forward, because as much as I love praying the rosary, I really do. I love praying the rosary. My kids love praying the rosary for the most part. I have like one kid that's kind of a little stinker. But yeah, I mean, I think the little office it's more demanding. Like it's actually more demanding than praying the rosary. Mm-hmm. It's not something you can memorize.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, it's a liturgical prayer. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So. I just want to go ahead and say on the record that I don't know how conclaves work, and I refuse to learn. So, how's that?
White smoke,
black pope.
We're moving.
I don't know. That's a little hashtag that's been going around. No, that's a hashtag that's been going around. That's a hashtag that's been going around. Yeah.
What I was going to say is white smoke, we move forward. Black smoke, we're still circling.
Yeah, I think everything is a speculation. I
keep getting asked, like, who do I think will be voted in, elected? I have no idea.
No idea.
I mean, Francis was, it sounds
I've never heard of Francis before.
Bergoglio was supposed to be elected, and then Cardinal Ratzinger was.
I was going to say, didn't he come in second on the first?
Yeah, like I think it was a surprise, and then eventually that he was elected, and yeah, I don't know. And that's where I'm like, I think we just really need to pray for the Holy Spirit I get the Holy Spirit does not elect the next.
You're in trouble now.
Okay, I know. I told my husband tonight. I was like, guess what? Did you know you're eligible to become Pope? You're a confirmed Catholic. Congratulations, you're in the running. He goes, have I been nominated?
Hey, I'm putting money down on it. You know why? Because when anybody gives you 10,000 to 1 odds on anything, you take it.
Take it.
Wow.
Jason is shocked. Speechless for once in his life.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. But like I said, there are institutions. I had to go to school for 3 years just to learn how American law works, and that's only like 250 years old. So I wouldn't even begin. I have a book. I have a code of canon law that I'll sometimes go in and read, but like, I'll be honest, I have no idea how this is interpreted and how this is applied in the tradition of
overnight,
canon law of the church. I have no idea.
Nick,
oh
my husband saw the exact same article here. Attention, newly elected Pope Joseph R. Biden.
That's funny.
By 81 million cardinal votes. So yeah.
Oh goodness, funny. That is good.
Oh.
Well, parting thoughts, or I know it's getting kind of late. Ange, what time is it there?
We live in the same time zone.
We do? I thought you were out east somewhere.
Yeah, she's over in Europe.
Yes. I would live in Nova if I could, probably.
Okay, so it's only 9 o'clock then. Yeah, but I gotta go to bed. So
me too.
This is actually true.
Hey, I'm wearing one of your shirts right now. There you go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The longer I'm Catholic, the more I realize this is so true. I've never put it into those words, but yeah, the sentiment's been there.
We don't, and I think that's at the end of the day, like that's why I'm not all that concerned about the conclave, to be quite honest. I know we titled the show that we're talking about the conclave. I'm not really worried about it. God's got it.
Yeah, and even if I did worry about it, I wouldn't know what to worry about. I don't really understand. Like, I have a lay person's understanding of like the mechanics of how it works. Obviously, there's voting and things like that. But let's be honest, none of us really know what the heck we're talking about when it comes to this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of so old and so governed by so many archaic rules and laws. Like, we have no idea what this is.
Well, did y'all ever read St. Galen's Mafia by, I can't think of the girl's name.
I read that book.
But
man, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But it made it seem like it's just like any other political type process. A lot of backroom dealings and like just negotiations.
Sure. But that's the thing is like it's still a human institution. Like it was, and that's I think I saw this firsthand. I worked for LifeSite News. That was my last big girl job before I decided to stay home with the kids. And this is also the time that I had my crisis of faith, even though at the time I loved working for LifeSite News. Actually, I think some people have mixed feelings about LifeSite, and I actually kind of did when I first got hired by them. But I loved working for them. They were an amazing employer to work for. And anyway, but because we were so deep into what was going on in church politics, and the Cardinal McCarrick scandal broke while I worked for them, that was when I had my crisis of faith. And I don't know, like I think I just came out of that realizing like either this is God's church or it's not. Like there's no other option. And because I'm so convicted that this truly is his church and that his hand is taking care of everything, I just have to let it go.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is like obviously there are ways that I would like to see the church go as far as the next, whoever they elect as the next pope and whatnot. But at the end of the day, what I want, how much I stress about it, and Jesus literally talks about your anxieties and what they can do for you in the Bible. I mean, nothing. He's like, you worrying and being anxious does nothing. Like, stop it, right? So yes, I mean, obviously we have our worries and our concerns about the future. That's natural, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna do like some people that are just 24/7 news cycle on who's going to be the next pope, what's going on here, there, because at the end of the day, if there is something that needs to be fixed in the church, God will do it in his time.
And he's not going to do it through you, Jason. No offense.
And I'm not going to speed up that timeline.
That was cold-blooded.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to speed up that timeline. And you know what? People
you tell him, Angela, you can come back on this show.
I'm a little sassy.
Yeah, well,
It's not gonna do it through you. I know that's for sure.
you know what? I was told about having a
Me
woman on our
either.
podcast.
I know,
I know
right?
we're the
We
worst.
We shall not
People-
suffer.
We
people
are
together.
the worst. Who
Uh,
let
No.
me out of the kitchen? I mean, for real.
I know. Just,
Send me your husband's phone number.
yeah. We're gonna have to.
I'll
We're gonna have to
send
tell
it
on
to
you.
Well, here's the thing. People were saying we need beef between me and Mark in the chat. I'm just going to be honest. Mark is terrified of me in real life. He wants no beef.
Let me
But
tell
I'm
you
also
something.
seeing a lot of we need to talk about co-sleeping. And if we
Well, me,
could just
me and Mark don't share a bed. If people were wondering.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten quite that bad. That's for sure.
Fiducia supplicans does not require us to share a
Oh
bed.
my goodness, Fiducia super.
I'm dead. I can't.
Wow. Yeah,
Well-
that was another winner.
That's that's the right time to sign off, folks.
I've literally never talked about a document more than Fiducia supplicans because of Mark.
Oh.
I don't even know what the document says at this point. I just know the
Yes,
title.
you do. Yes, you do. You know exactly what it says. You memorized it. I'm sure. Came out. You got all excited.
No way.
Hold on. I don't know the other one. I know who Religious Hippie is, but I don't even know who the other one is. Oh goodness gracious! Now ain't nobody coming on our show except Angela, and every once in a while we can get Nick on, and
Drama for subs. Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
I'm
No
pretty sure.
e-girls. Am I an e-girl?
What does that mean?
I don't post enough mass fits, do
I was gonna say you're not posting your likeness and image for likes and subs. I'll put it nice. That's not nicely. Nice. That's
I had this idea once. This is so mean, but I had this idea that I would troll the Religious Hippie by starting a new page called the Religious Yuppie, and it would just be me. It would be me in my suit at court, just like making duck lip photos and things like that. I know that's mean. If you Religious Hippie, if you're watching the show, I'm just teasing you.
Here's the thing, and this goes for all of those young creators. I think I don't know, like I get the inclination to kind of hate on them a little bit. Stop it. Oh my god.
I like Ron words.
I do too, but that's good.
So I think we just gotta pray for them. Like I think about when I worked for Students for Life, and I was given a platform a lot younger than maybe I should have. Like I was a little pro-life feminist at the time, and I thought it was like cool. So I said a lot of really dumb stuff that I would I totally don't agree with anymore. And it was this young zeal that I had. I think a lot of us have that.
I still have that from day to day.
I know you do.
I say stuff all the time.
Watching you troll people on Twitter though it's fun. I'm not gonna lie. I shouldn't enjoy it as much as I do, but I really enjoy it.
That is literally the whole reason I do that, because people take themselves way too seriously, and I'm like, I'm just whatever. Like, I made it a rule probably like last year on Twitter, like, because if somebody says that I'm dumb or thinks I'm dumb or calls me stupid, I'll just play the dumb, stupid person. If somebody says I'm gay, okay, well now I'm gay in this conversation. I don't care.
Now I'm gay.
It's all an act.
Playing.
Oh my gosh. But I think all these like super young people, just ignore them, let them grow up a little bit, let them become moms and dads, and
I used to like Grover. I used to like Grover till just now. I don't even know what this means, but it's insulting.
Yeah. And that's our show. Oh, wait a minute. We got a kiddo.
We are family friendly.
Oh my goodness. Look at the baby.
Your other one, the one older than her is Veronica,
Alice.
right?
Yeah, Veronica.
Veronica.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Alice.
Mark, she posted a picture or something on I can't remember where you did it, of Veronica. Maybe it was on your Instagram. And
she's really big now.
She was like this when we were podcasting with her, and I was like, I literally still in my mind, she was still, even though I have 6 kids and I know they grow, she was still like that, and I was like, who is that?
I know. It's crazy. I know she threw a fit for like 30 minutes tonight, and that was fun. Two has been really 2.5, 3. Oh, she's 3 now.
How did
3
you
has
come up
been
with
fun.
Allison? How did you name her? Did you name her after Alice
Von Hildebrand?
Van
Yeah.
Hildebrand? Yeah.
You bet. I was up late last night reading her autobiography. I love Alice von Hildebrand, and Hildegard is her middle name. Obviously after Saint Hildegard, but actually my great grandma's name was Hildegard as well. And we found out that my husband's maternal grandma was named Alice too after we had already picked out her name, which was like super fun. So,
and this is
have you guys watched
maternal great grandma?
This is number 6 for you, right?
This is, yeah.
The 6, yeah.
Have you guys watched Trumpet of God, the story of Hildegard von Bingen?
No.
Edith,
I like the name Edith, Darren.
It is so good. It is a one-woman play. You can get it on Amazon Prime, and I own it. I've watched it several times. And the play is structured on the canonical hour, so it begins with matins, and then it's fantastic. Trumpet of Hildegard von Bingen, Trumpet of God. Go check it out. It's good stuff. All right, that's all I got. Okay.
6, number 6, 2 more before you meet your favorite.
Oh,
So
God.
I always have a running joke. You know, like on Twitter, we have this cradles versus convert type deal. I always make the joke that 4 of my kids are converts, 2 are cradles. And I said, of course, the 4 converts are my favorite.
How dare you?
All right, team. Oh, what a sweet bye. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay. I think that's all we got. I'm going to close it out.
Yes, sir.
Guys, we will try to do more content as we get time to do it. It was really great talking to you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, it was fun.
Bye, Alice.
Bye.
Bye, Alice.
It sounded like she was going to talk to us there for a minute.
Das vidanya.
See you guys later.